No, you don't need the. I'm doing
Legend.
this my way.
He a legend. 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 Welcome to the league. To the league. To the league. To the league. To the league of items. Welcome to the league. To the league. To the league. To the league. To the league of items.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and last night we had a perfect 4-0. So, Weibo Gaming won as underdogs. LNG won as the favorites, Gen G won as the favorites, and DRX won as the underdogs. This is just a part of the reason why I think it's so important for people who want to bet and play DraftKings and all that kind of stuff, and like just pick the games in general. It's why it's important to have kind of a baseline for what you think the talent is of these different teams, because if you only look at money lines to think about who the underdog is and stuff like that, you're going to be behind the eight ball from the beginning, because the schedule is so important with the teams that you're facing off against. Some teams have very easy schedules to begin the year. Some teams have very difficult schedules to begin the year. So by thinking more about the talent of players, because talent translates year over year better than like team synergy and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to start off saying. We're gonna get right into the games. So first off, we are in Korea. We have Gen G against Kwangdong Freaks. This is the first game. Interesting composition. I want to put together some kind of list about like the champions that I want my teams to play and don't want my teams to play. I think that Poppy is a champion you don't want your team to play in general, but it kind of seems like the only teams that play Poppy are good teams, which is kind of bizarre. And it's good in the sense that they are the more talented team in general, so they can get away with stuff like this, but it's not necessarily a good pick. Like, I don't like I just don't like it. It doesn't have a lot of the characteristics that I want in a jungler, just in general. So this is the dragon fight. They already have a small gold lead. They have a small dragon advantage as well, and this isn't like super impressive from a mechanics perspective, but it's a good flanking position from Doran, so he finds a good flank. Not great ward coverage from Kwangdong, so Genji's trying to force Kwangdong down the river so that they're all on top of each other, and that's why you pick things like Poppy, is to stop dashes and stuff from Xin Zhao. But it was the only champion that it could really do it to, so I don't know. But they get an ace. This turns into Baron. That turns into the first game. And Gen G against Kwangdong, you don't really expect it to be very competitive overall. This game, kind of the same thing, a little less close. The Akali is interesting, coming out of Keen. Tryndamere mid. So, yeah. Don't really have much faith in a team like Kwangdong to beat Gen G. I think that Gen G might just be the best team in the world right now. Next up, we have Fredit Brion against DRX, and this is really what I was talking about in the beginning of the video. Fredit was listed as the favorites. I think part of this is because they have played against good teams and have taken games off of these good teams and have looked competitive, whereas DRX has dropped some matches and has lost games to teams that theoretically, if they were playing up to the level of their talent, they wouldn't have lost. But again, I always default to talent over like recent form. So, that's that. The second game wasn't very close. The game starts off Pyosik on Lee Sin. Lee Sin is a very important champion again. You'll see specifically like Korean junglers that are extremely good at Lee Sin, because of the early game opportunities that he can create, as well as the utility he provides throughout the game. So somebody like Tarzan, for example, is a very good Lee Sin player. When he was one of the best players in the world, that was one of his core champions. And we're back in that mode. So it's going to be good for the more traditional junglers, not the farm style junglers or the hard farm meta that we had like for a year and a half. So that should contribute to players like Tarzan being more important and more impactful, and like Kanavi as well. So they get the first blood, and when you get first blood for your Jace, you're probably gonna win. So they have a 2,000 gold lead. They keep diving top lane, and now they have a 6,000 gold lead. So they kind of just took this game and it exploded pretty fast. I'm happy that DRX was able to pull that one off. I forgot who one of the last videos with DRX I had the wrong result, which was kind of bizarre. Yeah, okay, so they beat Kwangdong. Pretty low kill score. Piosik, Zika getting in the Kali game. Okay. So that's it for Korea. Not as exciting as the LPL. So yesterday we had V5 against Weibo Gaming. This was going to be a great match. A lot of talent between the two teams. Everybody's really tilted about the Shy still. I played a decent amount of V5 and Weibo Gaming in my lineups last night. I think I'd like just about broke even. These are the types of nights where I play extra and like get my really unique lineups in, because I thought that this match was going to be for sure the bloodiest one. So Angel is the kind of player that I would expect to be good at Corki and like playing Corki a decent amount. That does seem to fit his playstyle. That seemed like a pretty rough package, but it's kind of whatever. The Shy died. The Shy had like a horrible kill score in their 2-1 win. This is also this is a spot where we've been talking about dragons recently and how like preparing for the dragon the right way is very important. Weibo Gaming did not prepare for the dragon the right way, and V5 was set up early. They had the 3 dragon advantage, so if you're Weibo Gaming, you want to set up first to make it more to make it more difficult for V5 to get that last dragon. But that was the first game. Not much we're going to say about that one. Once you give up Dragon Soul, even though they have a gold lead, you're supposed to lose that game. What? I skipped the entire game. Wow, that was fast. Yeah, this game was a complete stomp. Some people were talking trash about SFM yesterday too, which is surprising. Like, he is a very volatile jungler. A lot of the time, the way that he plays the game is not normal. He's a very unique player, and the types of plays that he goes after, a lot of the times just aren't what other people would do, and it's not going to work out as well for DraftKings a lot of the time. But he has the ability to play the easier style of League of Legends, which is just trying to get as many kills as possible. Like, if you're the better team or if you're in a winning position, you're going to have a better kill score. That's just kind of the way that League of Legends works. But that's going to be the frustrating thing about the Shy and SFM throughout this year, is that they have leads, but they're not necessarily going to convert that lead in a way that looks good from like a kill score perspective, because their goal is to exert as much pressure on the map as possible. It's more of a positional style of League of Legends, and they're always willing to take gigantic risks, which, like I said yesterday in Discord, I think it's going to result in some of the most like fun to watch League of Legends, maybe also the most tilting League of Legends, because it's like, why don't they just group up and get me another 5 kills for my DraftKings lineup? Feels bad. But this game was a complete shit show. So we have the Corki. Zed jungle. Psy on top. Okay. Okay, and this was the end of the game. So even though it's 8-8, Weibo Gaming has 2 inhibitors taken. They have a tower advantage, so they should have a gold advantage. That's just how, like, because the players don't know what the gold difference is in the game outside of, like, a rough estimate based on kill score, towers taken, barons taken, stuff like that. So Weibo Gaming has a team. It's not really a team fight composition. Like, the engage doesn't seem very easy either. Like, you can try to get a Rakan engage or a Scion engage, but Scion is kind of clunky. You need to have, like, really good positioning to. You're basically going to force the enemy team to scatter, which I guess that's a good thing if you have a Zed on your team. And then for V5 we have Aatrox, Lucian, Aphelios with a Gragas. I don't know if that really makes too much sense, because you have a hard carry in Aphelios, and then you're going to allow Weibo Gaming to prioritize building a lot of armor, because the only AP damage coming out of V5 is going to be burst damage from Gragas. So they play it out pretty slow. They get the dragon, the Shy engages. SFM gets on the Karsa, does a lot of damage. Huanfeng just kind of cleans up. Nothing too special there. Like, that's one of the reasons why I like to watch the games back, even if I like got the result that I wanted, is because if we listen to other people saying, like, oh wow, you know, Weibo Gaming looked so good at the end of that third game when they won that dragon fight, they didn't really do anything special there. Like, if you're just playing generic League of Legends, which is required a lot of the time, it's not going to change my opinion of the team. And then in the last match of the night, we had LNG against FPX. I watched the second 2 games here. So we have another Jhin losing, which I love. So this is pretty interesting. They have a gold deficit, but they have Dragon Soul. So right here, like, if you're LNG right here, you're feeling a lot of pressure. Let me do that. One second. Let's get the pen up on the screen. And let's slow it down. So basically, if you're LNG in this spot, you're in a very tough position, because Infernal Soul will be very impactful. Like, that is a legitimate way for FPX to get back into the game. Dragon Souls in general are worth thousands and thousands of gold, so they can completely eliminate a gold deficit if you play around it the right way. And Infernal is probably the easiest one to play around if you have some form of poke damage. So this is really good positioning out of FPX. This is a good thing to see from them. So even though they lost, this is a good thing that we want to see. We don't necessarily want to see a Jhin on their team, but outside of that, it's fine. They have a good engage option, 2 good engage options. They have good utility out of their mid laner that also has a very impactful ultimate. Then they have a bad champion over here. We're not going to pay any more attention to that. And then we have a Graves in the top lane, which is just meant to go even in lane. Jace is good. I just, in general, I don't have any problems with the way that LNG drafts. I think that it's, again, very generic, which is fine and good in some ways. So since FPX is already set up, it's on LNG to kind of break down the positioning of FPX and make sure that they have an opportunity to at least potentially smite this. The better thing to do would have been, if we go backwards, so let's see how early So I think at this point is really when you want to see LNG starting to look for an engage, and they are. Lumao is wrapping around trying to get some kind of flank opportunity, but I think most of that's warded anyways. So it's probably a good call, or at least the correct call from FPX to start the dragon and start poking it down to try to force bad positioning out of LNG in the form of an engage. Because if LNG feels a lot of pressure, they might just think to themselves that they need to force something, and when you're forcing something, that's when you're most likely to make a big mistake. So they're kind of trapped here. If you're the Orianna player, you want to control this choke point right here with your ball, which that's exactly what they're doing. Varus is looking for poke. Tarzan with the Q smite. Yep. So that's just classic Lee Sin play right there. Han goes in. I mean, that seems kind of desperate. And then this is Jin, being a super good champion right there. Okay. FPX is willing to fight it out. Just not enough damage. Yeah, and then this game was over right after this. So I mean, in most games you're going to get into those predictable spots around the dragon, which is why it's pretty important. That's why drafting is so important. This game was annoying to watch because this should have been a 2-0, but they took a bad Rift Herald fight. I don't even really want to watch the Rift Herald fight. This game was over after the Rift Herald fight. Clid kind of went out of control. I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. He was fine, but it's not super impressive. And then this game, Lumao kept dying. It might actually be an issue. Like, they might actually get rid of him and swap back to Iwandi, Elwandi. So again, just like you already start feeling the pressure if you're FPX with those with the being down 2 dragons already. Galio is another champion that I don't really want my teams to play, by the way. I meant to mention that earlier. Tarzan with Nerves of Steel. And then this game stays relatively close until this dragon fight. And again, it's a Dragon Soul fight, so you're going to feel a lot of pressure if you're FPX. How much time is left? Okay, so this is good. Again, like, I don't really have any ways to measure this because, like, you just don't. But FPX looks to put a very high priority on dragon, which is a good thing. It's about 50 seconds before the dragon even spawns, and they're already trying to control this position, which means either good shot calling, good coaching, or both. So even kill score. Ollie's looking for a flank. This is a smart way to kind of break down the position that you anticipate FPX to have, especially on Chemtech Rift. So they get mid priority, and this is something that I don't really want to see from LNG because they could the shot call could be like, we don't need to get this dragon specifically. We can try to trade it for mid lane priority. Lumao going for an engage. Yeah, and that's exactly what they do. So that's annoying. I hate seeing stuff like that. They take this. They go towards top side. Nothing happens. Baron doesn't get taken. I did not mean to spend this much time looking at games, by the way. But once I started doing it, I could Could not stop. Yeah, Lu Mao dies again. So again, we're about a minute out. FPX starts looking for dragon control, shoves out mid lane, goes into the river. Ale makes an engage into the bot lane, which is pretty smart because you know that FPX is talking about dragon specifically. If you can sneak onto the graves, then you're going to have a chance to get a kill, make him waste a lot of his abilities. So Ale does a good job there. And again, that's either good shot calling or just good game sense. When you have a player like Doinby on your team, it's probably good shot calling. But that's the way that they win the game. So knowing that this gigantic dragon fight is going to happen, they looked to start that fight before the dragon was on the map. That is a team fight win and a game win for FPX. So congrats to them. Tomorrow we have 2 games in Korea, 2 games in China. Those are the last 2 games in the LPL for a couple of weeks. KT Rolster against Live Sandbox. Who's posting at me? So let's go through KT Rolster Live Sandbox. So Rascal against Dove. Rascal looks pretty good. Cuz against Kroko. I probably prefer Cuz. Arya against Closer. That's a good matchup. Aiming and Life against Ice and Kale. I prefer Aiming and Life. So I think that's a pretty easy one. I think most people will be on KT Rolster. Not a lot of people are going to roster Live Sandbox. T1 against Nongshim. That'll be a fun match to watch. Zeus against Kana. Kana's a better player. Owner against Dread. Owner's probably the better player. Faker against BDD. Faker's the better player and has been for a while. Gumayusi and Keria against Ghost and Effort. I prefer Gumayusi and Keria. But stylistically, this will be an interesting matchup because Kana should have a lot of priority against Zeus. And even though Ghost is a utility AD carry that isn't going to hard carry most games, that is their role within this team, and it makes sense because you have Kana. I think that you probably want to eventually have like a more aggressive mid laner, or have BDD play in a more aggressive way in the mid lane. So the Akali, like, I guess that is a good thing. BDD, Corki, Victor. So that's kind of not a horrible thing, but if you're doing the Corki Victor trade, playing a utility AD carry in the bot lane, you probably need a hard carry in the top lane, or at least something that can win lane super hard and then effectively turn into a carry, like a Jace. So that's fine. I think I don't think that I wouldn't pick Nongshim, and I probably won't play Nongshim, but I see how they could win this match. And we talked about that probably a week ago, I think, where you really need to have at least one lane that you can play around and put a lot of pressure on the map. And I think that they can do that in top lane. So they're not a completely dead dog. And then the last 2 games are in China. We have Top Esports against OMG. Man, I want to play OMG. I think OMG has looked okay so far this year. So we have Shanji against Zoom. Top Esports coming off of their loss against V5 that we picked. Zoom against Shanji. Probably just Zoom favored. Aki against Xiaopeng favored. Actually, no, that one's basically just even. Cream against Knight. It's Knight favored. Cream is very good, but it is Knight favored. That's going to be interesting to see what OMG allows Cream to play into that matchup, because I would hope that they just say, that's your play style. You need to play aggressive. Go ahead, play aggressive. If they keep doing like the Victor Corki trading, then it's going to be a bad night, I think. Abel and Cold against Jackie Love and Zhuo. That's Jackie Levin's favorite. So I'm probably just off of OMG on that one. And then BLG against RNG. So we have Breathe against Bin. I prefer Breathe, but they're both very good. Wei against Wei. Depends on how many ways you're feeling on the day. Fofo against Xiaohu. Definitely Xiaohu favored. Doggo and Crisp against Gala and Ming. I think it might be Doggo and Crisp favored. I'm not a huge fan of Gala. Everybody knows that. It's kind of weird to see RNG as the underdogs. I do think that I probably prefer Wei. I probably prefer Xiaohu. Bin against Breathe is a good matchup. And then Gala Ming against Doggo Crisp is a good matchup as well. I think stylistically, I prefer the bot lane of BLG, which I guess the only thing to really check would be in RNG's games, what 80 carries are they playing? They're probably just trading Aphelios Jinx like everybody else. Ezreal is a champion we don't want to see, by the way. Gala, so we have Aphelios. Okay, so they're playing the right 80 carries. So I think I'd probably just take the underdog. Getting RNG as an underdog isn't going to happen very often this year. Aphelios. Yep. So I like RNG tomorrow against BLG, but they're both good teams. This isn't going to like result in one team being good and one being bad. It's just two good teams playing each other, which is always fun to watch. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.